also would love to know, once Spelljammer Adventures in Space comes to us, comes to D&D Beyond, comes to your box set at your table, whatever form that you're going to engage with it in, once we have it, what else are we going to do with it? What? We were talking earlier about all of the influences that go into this, all the wonderful, rich traditions of storytelling that can feed into this. And of course, with that, we get some classic archetypal stories, some space tropes, if you will, of things that we might want to do or get into in our Spelljammer games. So, what's a classic sort of problem or situation that you've seen in some other media that you can't wait to put into action with Spelljammer? Joe Starr.
I like to call this trope. It's my favorite sci-fi trope. Uh, I will call it "That's No Moon." And it is when you think a thing is a thing, and it's not that thing, and oh crap, it's this other thing. It is
Mm.
whether it's and whether it is the aforementioned "That's No Moon." It's a space station. But where I was thinking about it first because I was going through the Monstrous Compendium, and Eric, you reminded me of it when you were talking about how excited you were about a return to Spelljammer's Beholders and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It takes me to we've landed in a tunnel in this asteroid, and why does it keep shaking? And there's a giant worm monster in the asteroid, and you're all screwed. So
Mhm.
that is absolutely. I cannot wait. That's a preview for my first Spelljammer table. Is the thing that you're in is not the thing that you thought it was going to be, and now you're doomed.
I love that very much. And it plays into the fact that this setting is perfect for lighthearted adventures and for space comedy if you want it, and for science fiction wonder and joy. But also, unknown areas have unknown dangers. So it is also perfect for telling stories that are scary, either full out horror stories or just thrilling adventure tales that upend your expectations in a terrifying fashion. And I think you can also see a preview of that with, as Joe mentioned, the free Monstrous Compendium, Volume 1, Spelljammer Creatures, which is out right now on D&D Beyond. And I am not over the coolness of that being a thing that we get to just have. 10, in addition to the monsters you're going to get when you get Spelljammer Adventures in Space. You can take a look at those right now. It's got something called a Goon Balloon. Come on. Um, Eric, what is a situation or classic trope that you can't wait to put into action at the table?
So I don't. I'm very curious to see if they kept this in this recent incarnation. But gravity works in really bizarre ways in Spelljammer. It does not work in the same way that it does in our actual world. The physics of Spelljammer are completely bizarre, and so the gravitational plane, when you're on your spelljamming vessels, they can shift. You can actually step off the side of your vessel and walk down under the hull and back up to the other side and step up onto the deck again. I want to see like a grand like epic pirate sword fight on like the bottom hull of a ship during a space battle. Like I want to see something spectacular like that. Like like matrixy style, like running all over the ship where battles are happening like that, and get really wonky, like upside down, the whole bit. Like I want to go full like wild with that. So
Weird
I'm looking
space
forward to that.
physics.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
weird
give me
space
weird
physics,
space
we don't
physics.
know yet how exactly the new version of all the mechanics are going to work, but I have a feeling
Mm.
that whatever this navigation of wild space and the astral sea involves, I have a feeling it'll be weird. So I think we can probably deliver on some weird space physics in whatever
Oh
Yeah.
form they
man,
take when Spelljammer comes our way.
those like 3D like cardboard, like those they're nice like paper cardboard 3D models. You can get them of like schooners and big ships
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And now I
Yeah.
want to take one of those and I want to like add like some magnet paint to it and grid it
Yeah.
and then magnetize everyone's miniatures. And that's a
Just
fun
watch the
table.
pure confusion on their face. Just watch the confusion on their face when you put like when you hang a ship over the battle mat and the ship has hexes on the bottom of the hull. Like what? Where are we going?
You just broke my brain. And yeah, thank you, Eric, for a good brain breaking.
Anything I
Oh,
can
I
do.
am so excited. I'm gonna go. This one is not specifically necessarily sci-fi, but it is one of my favorite things to watch. I am very excited to bring to life like Ragtag Crew, Found Family, a thing that is can be done. Obviously, ragtag parties of people from very different lands are a staple across D&D storytelling, but it will rarely be as easy as it's going to be in Spelljammer to be like, when I say we come from different worlds, I mean, very different. So, a la the Starjammers that I referenced, the X Men related group that shows up in Marvel Comics that features different alien species all on a ship, sort of working together. Not because they're all from some same organized empire or federation, say, but because they're just sort
Mhm.
of gathering from these disparate origins to go on adventures together. That was my pick. It's not maybe specifically a space trope, but the Ragtag crew is something
You
I
know,
can't wait
it's
to
not
bring to life.
it's not
Yeah.
specifically a space trope, but I also think that sci-fi has always been able to give a spin to that trope that I think other genres aren't able to. Because, what is space if not the ultimate like reset or
Melting pot.
refresh or I
Yeah.
need something new in my life and I'm
Mm.
gonna like there is no bigger how Stella got her groove back than going to space and meeting an ooze, you
Oh,
know?
Yeah.
oh, I'm
Plat
adventurer origin. Which background is perfect for I have made it. I'm feeling in a rut. I'm a full adult, but I need to get my groove back. I'm gonna figure it out and I'm making that character because that is very because I love a coming of age.
mm,
I love a setting out to see the universe. But you know what? A Stella got her groove back is an amazing character origin for going out and seeing the world in Spelljammer.
mm.
I just got real
I
excited.
love
Sorry.
the other thing. I mean, first of all, Plasmoid is absolutely 100% going to be the race I go for. 100%. There's no way. Like after watching Treasure Planet, you can't be like, oh, I'm not going to play a little slime creature that can you know, it's obviously not the same as Morph in Treasure Planet, but still, just like really love that whole idea
I'm
of like
glad you
playing a
brought that
sort of
up
this.
our community manager and some of our mods were shaming me this week. Well, they were very kind about it because I still haven't seen Treasure Planet. So between
Oh,
now
I can't
and
wait
when
till
this
you
comes
see it.
out,
It's time.
And I'm just gonna say, great music in that too. I that was Treasure Island is one of my all time favorite stories in my life, and I cannot recommend that movie enough, especially if you want to get visual references, because the physics in Treasure
Mm.
Planet are actually very similar to how the physics work in Spelljammer. It's this weird sort of like open space gravity thing where they don't really take into account like the dark cold void or anything like that. It's really fantastic. There's no way the creative team didn't have people who had been playing D&D and Spelljammer when they came up with Treasure Planet. There's no way. I refuse to accept it.
oh, I would love to find that out. And I love that you bring that up because of course, there are a million wonderful influences you can take from this. Everything from Star Wars and Flash Gordon, Treasure Planet, to the comic book saga, I think might be infecting my Spelljammer adventures a little bit because it is also a mix of fantasy and space and terrible danger. But I'm very excited to dig further into all the things that you can bring to the table. Joe, do you have another trope you're very excited to bring out?
Yeah, I think my other favorite space trope is I'm trying to think of like a clever name for it, but you're always the underdog and you're always doomed, right? And which is a very lighthearted name for what I'm trying to get at, which is basically alien, you know, like and
Oh yeah,
xenomorphs and
yeah,
the
yeah.
unknown and that is you know I love the space trope of hey we've conquered space we're invincible we're and I think that
hmm
this will translate so well to D&D. It's like we're level 10, like we've been just like oh bandits beep, 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 beep,
We're basically
whatever.
gods.
Yeah, we're basically gods until you land on that one planet that's full of clockwork horrors and a clockwork horror queen, whatever that looks like,
hmm
and all of a sudden you're the lowest on the food chain. Like space is this uncaring, unnegotiable with just force, and so that's my other trope. I'm really that sort of yeah in Spelljammer no one can hear you jam. uh in space no one can hear you spell jam.
I
yeah.
So
love
yeah,
that.
very excited about that.
Uh, Space is big. You are doomed. Overwhelming odds. Very easy and to bring to life at your table. Eric, do you have another one?
Yeah, just to expand on that, I love one of my favorite things about sci-fi is what you were saying, Joe, where it's like you you think you under it's one of my favorite things about like horror mythos and cosmos in general is like you think you have an understanding of reality and then you realize no, you're just leaving level zero and you are the speck of dust on this grand
Mhm.
scale of a stage. I love that. That's one of the things I love most about Alien is that sort of reintroduction that you could do in the Spelljammer game easy. I love that because again, like you're going to watch players try to grapple with the fact that there are asteroid-sized beholders out there because the setting gets so weird. It takes what you think you know about D&D and turns it upside down, which I adore. And that's the second thing that I love is that um kind of adding to what you can play. Spelljammer is a setting where literally everything is thrown together and it has its whole culture of its own. It's not a bizarre thing to get a Moss Isley experience in Spelljammer when you walk into a room and yeah, no, there is in fact a mind flayer that's having a mug of whatever that is across from his halfling business partner because they're getting ready to like that is something that you can see in Spelljammer. It just because the cultures of space society in Spelljammer are they developed along completely different lines than people who live planet side have developed. And so I'm looking forward to watching players' minds explode over that. I mean, the first time they're going to see the first time they see their very first giant saber tooth plaid colored space hamster is going to be priceless. I
Yeah,
highly look forward
yeah,
to introducing more players to
So
it.
I would call that one a an astral hive of scum and villainy. This get
yeah.
ready for the space specific
And
cultural changes that you might encounter.
yeah, and
Mhm,
if you've kept your D&D games like pretty like traditional is not a good word, but pretty like no, we're elves and dwarves and humans, and I want to keep this feeling fairly Tolkien-y. Like if you've
mhm.
kept your game fairly like narrow scope fantasy. I'm trying to describe this well, and I'm failing.
Classic. Just like
Classic, yeah.
Mhm.
I think, and then if that when that moment comes where you can kind of tell that your group's like, okay, now what? This is it. Exactly what
Mhm.
Eric was just saying. Like turn their worlds upside down. Um,
Yeah.
I can't think of a better way to do it than oop, and now a Spelljammer.
Suddenly Spelljammer.
Suddenly,
I
unexpectedly, Spelljammer.
Suddenly
Yeah.
Spelljammer. I love that very much. Folks have talked a lot about how fun it is to run like a Ravenloft game and pull a surprise Ravenloft with a table who under the right
Mhm.
circumstances at the right table. But like surprise Spelljammer, I feel like has very similar, if differently flavored possibilities. And I can't wait for folks to start bringing that to life. Um,
Yeah.
and you can also this gives you and anything that you find in a spaceship story or a boat story can probably work in Spelljammer. So we can have things like, "Oh no, our ship is breaking down. We are very far from any kind of help. What do we do?" Which is obviously a classic one.
Mhm.
And there will be many, many more things that you can bring to life. Any final thoughts that we haven't mentioned on how you're going to draw on classics in bringing your Spelljammer adventures to life, Joe?
Mutinies.
Of course.
Gotta have some good
Yes.
mutinies. Um, 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 start a campaign that's set in the Forgotten Realms, but then things start getting weirdly Truman Showy, where like you can't get to certain borders, and then we do a big dark city reveal, and Waterdeep has been on an asteroid this whole time.
I love
Oh,
it.
no.
Eric?
My brain is just swimming with, like, all these story ideas that I wanna do, but a lot of them center around what we kinda just spoke about, which is throwing the players into a situation where everything they know is wrong. Like putting them in situations where they thought, "Oh no, I this is bad. I can never ally myself with these people." And then you get to realm space and they're like, "No, we're trying to stop and bring all of these people down." And you're like, "But on my world, you're trying to conquer everything." So I can't wait to just really mess with that. I want to I guess that's it's not really a trope necessarily, but the one that thing I'm really just looking forward to is like turning them upside down on what they can expect.
I love that. And Eric has referenced another thing from the classic earlier versions of Spelljammer, which was as a setting that helped to bridge the multiverse together, you would end up in pockets of space that were associated with some of the major worlds, like, say, the Forgotten Realms in realm space. And of course,
Mhm.
other than what we already know from Direct, we don't know what shape Spelljammer will come in for fifth edition. Although obviously you can do whatever you want at your table because that's the magic of D&D. But I love that the deeper you dive into this and the history, I feel like the more inspiration you're gonna find for how to bring this to life, which you can do if you pre-order Spelljammer Adventures in Space, which is coming out in August, which you can get in a beautiful box set or here on D&D Beyond. And it is currently part of our spring sale. We threw a sale for Direct because we got very excited. It is 20% off all books and premium dice, and that includes the new pre-orders for Spelljammer's Adventures in Space. And of course, you can still grab Journeys to the Radiant Citadel, Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, all of the existing books and bundles and dice, the brand new and gorgeous Call of the Corrupted dice set, which we just introduced with this sale, which may tie into a certain fantastic critical role adventure that we are playing through right now on the channel. And finally, please don't miss out on the auctions for seats if you would like to join us for Jasper's Game Week, which returns to our channel for a full week long extravaganza in partnership with the wonderful folks at Jasper's Game Day, the organization designed that was started by Fenway to promote mental health and suicide prevention through the love of gaming. It means a lot to us. We are honored to be able to work with them on this. You can find lots more details in an article on the site, and those options are only open for a limited time. If you miss those, or if you just don't want to play in public, which is totally valid, there are many other ways to support. Spread the word. Donate once those open, once we get to early May 9th through 13th, for that Jasper's Game Week. And thank you in advance for helping with that very wonderful cause.